why was I blamed for inventing COVID? Hmm. See, the real question should be when someone comes out of nowhere and tells me that I'm behind COVID. The real question, like the only question I have is how do you how do you know that? Okay, so for me that's the question. And the question for everyone else technically shouldn't be like, why is this crazy dude uh, have people blaming him for COVID? And their question is way off that, right? Anyone who hears this, but question is probably way off. Like, wow, this crazy dude just saying crazy stuff. But it's like, okay, so the person who came up to me and blamed me for inventing COVID. Now they didn't blame me. Like people have gotten like less ballsy than they've ever gotten in the past few years. Um, like they came up and they were like, someone did all these magic spells and all this stuff and did these magic symbols and stuff and then it altered the world. And it's like, well, I don't think that's required because the world's been following me for a long time. So I don't think it's got anything to do with me using the assorted magic spells and symbols I've attempted to use the past decade or so. You can see on my profile, I'm not making that part up. I drew all sorts of stuff, like covered the whole front lawn with giant symbols, and then floods happened around the area I was in and all this. But I've been saying for like 10, 20, 30 years. It's weird. Like the world is either following me or someone's telling me to do something and then I'm doing it and then that's just catching on. And it's like the COVID thing. Well, that's definitely not like catching on. That has nothing to do with anyone else. As far as I'm concerned, all that stuff. It's not COVID. I'm not a health expert. I'm sorry. I'm just a person who was born at 2 years old, smarter than most other people ever are. So I'm not a health expert. I only worked out during during college nutrition level nutritional classes, and then still, I'm sure I was in the top three. I always like to say top three because sometimes there's two other people in the class who scored better than me, but it still didn't place me below the 98 percentile or the 2 percentile, right? However you want to look at it. Depends on there's either the 2% or the 98 percentile, and they called it the 98 percentile, but technically it's the 2 percentile. I mean, like we're literally like giving the 98 percentile the the grammatical the ability to label and identify the other stuff. So it's kind of confusing. It's kind of the same way either way though. The 2 percentile or the 98 percentile. It's recognizing two different groups of people. People who like scored exceptionally high, and then people who didn't care about that crap. Hopefully that's all it is, right? No one cared about that crap. But I can see this stuff, and everyone keeps talking about this, and like, why? How is there 14 billion people under mind control? Like, because of some stuff I said. And then they sent people into my life too to talk to me about it too. And they sent people into my life to talk to me, and then I'm like trying to ignore it. Like I'm really not even wanting to talk to this person because this person is why. Like I ask for people to be force injected and stuff. He was like the main one involved in holding me down and locking me in a place and force injecting me into stuff. He thought it was funny, and it's like, well, I mean, if you think this is funny, wait to see what was asked for after that because we're just starting. This is just the start of it. This is like a mine. This is like a bump in the road. That way the car hits the bump and it gets some bad shocks, and then you can like race up on the car with your truck and ram the car and flip it over and then drag everyone out of it and fucking slam them on the ground and then drag them back to your place where you cook humans for dinner or whatever however they do it in that one movie people like. I don't really like that. I like Jason Voorhees, but there's that one movie where they like cut off the flesh of people and eat the people. And Leatherface, yeah, Leatherface. I don't think it's called Leatherface. It's called something else, right? I'm not an expert on that movie, but it's like the first thing they do is like sabotage the car. That way the car can be freaking rammed with the truck, and this is like the start of the movie. You know what I'm saying? This is the start of what's happening, as far as I can see. And I'm not very happy about people being able to come up to me and talk to me about my personal life and imply that I'm using some sort of magic and cultic spells and I'm some master magician who controls the entire planet. I'm not happy about learning about that either. So it doesn't like necessarily make me want to back off from anything. In fact, it's made me like get a little bit more aggressive in my stance. And it's hard for me to forget about it because it's like, oh, okay, so I've got like this massive. I've either got like these demons who follow me or are trying to convince me that they work for me or like I'm literally in control. And if there's 14 billion people who can't have their own thoughts, then that means there's one person in control of all of them. So if 14 billion people can do one thing, then that just points to one thing for me. And it's like, wow, I didn't know that. I wish someone would have told me like 40 years ago. I guess that would have made it really uninteresting if you would have just told me I could snap my fingers and snap people's necks early on. I started actually to see that actual thing. Once I started seeing all this, I was like, wait a minute, that's how that person died. And that's how that person died, isn't it? It's like I didn't. Wow, this has been happening long before I drew some sort of symbols or asked to speak to. I don't know. I guess I asked to speak to Yahweh probably early on and stuff. But I apparently he pulls people off the planet if that's who I'm talking to. And yeah, like I mean, you read the books, he's pulling everyone off this planet pretty much. So and we're kind of like going by this storyline in a large portion. Like this is what's happening. Like everyone's falling under mind control and blah blah blah. And they're the evil, like they're the evil ones. But it's like, who do they really work for? Like a lot of people ask if there's a God. Then uh, like why does he allow things to happen? And it's like, well, I mean, like why does he allow this evil one to exist? It's like, well, this evil group that controls things, you allow them to exist because they're fucking dealing with the problem and shit. Um, they're definitely altering everything. And every time I see this is like a marker, right? Like I ask for markers. And if you can't see the markers, then I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't know this was part of it. But like the signs are there. Like all the signs are there. You should be able to see things and differentiate things because they're so crazy and out of hand right now that if you believe this nonsense over here, that there's just no hope for you. You will bring the world to fucking. You will bring the good people, however many of those there are, 2 or 5 or 100. You will bring them to utter destruction if if you have no thought. But it's like at the same time I'm kind of like seeing it's like, wait a minute, like how can they have thought if it's like a game? So it's kind of like weird. Like I'm not sure if you can actually like grant free will to everyone and freedom of thought to everyone because they clearly like this was one of the things I asked for. I asked to see everything, and then I asked for everyone else to see and be shown as well. And like 2020 like really did a lot of that stuff. And if you if you can't see it, maybe that's because I'm being shown. Maybe that's because it's just there to show me like what's going on in the world. And like maybe I've not been so delusional thinking that the world is following me like 10 years after I come up with an idea and stuff like that. And this time it was a lot faster. My ideas came into play. And I mean, wow, sometimes, like now I'm seeing my ideas come into play like right away. And I'm like kind of like worried sometimes because it's like, no, 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 no. Like I just thought of that car. I just thought of how there wasn't any car wrecks. I wasn't thinking there should be some massive freaking car wreck with a bunch of mangled, roads and vehicles and stuff. Like, but I guess, oh well. I guess I'm being shown, like, because I asked for this stuff, and I asked for everyone else to see it. And maybe what I'm being shown is that they're showing me that no one else can understand it, and I kind of get that, but it's like I kind of like reject that idea at the same time because it's like it puts a lot of weight on my shoulders to be told stuff like that. And the average person, like they aren't like like having their own thoughts. They're just doing whatever. And that's not like, this is not sheep. This is not people who do what the TV says and whatever they're told. These are literally people who have mind control going on, and they have no free will apparently. And that means, what is it like? Then I have to question, what is a people and stuff. If I can do stuff like this, and they can't have their own thoughts, then, and I've been thinking this for a long time, like, what's the difference here between me and everyone else? And I never really like put too much into it, but I've been shown since like I can remember that there's a difference. There's some sort of difference going on. And um and then they would make up stuff like, oh, sheep and trendy people and stuff like that. And it's like, this stuff isn't trendy. This isn't sheepish. What's been going on since 2020? This is something entirely different. This isn't like beings, like whatever I am. This isn't like free thinking individuals. It's like when I play a video game and I travel around the block and there's the same prostitute in a different place on every portion of the block. I travel around the city, and there's the same prostitute everywhere, and saying the same stuff. And I can't get out, and I can't tell the prostitute like, hey, I'm the star of Grand Theft Auto. Could you give me like $10 or something, like, or give me a free BJ? Because I don't have $10 right now, something like that, right? I can't do that. And I use the prostitute as a good level of measurement there, because the prostitute's the easiest one to see that's repetitive. Now everyone else in Grand Theft Auto is kind of like auto generated, random generated, and can be easily, but the prostitute is like, there's only like eight of them, and it's the same ones and the same things over and over. And they say the same things if you run them over with the car. They say the same things if you start shooting at them. There's might be three things. If you start shooting at them, one might attack you. Any of them might attack you. Any of them might run away, and then any of them might die. So they've upgraded it to where the prostitute might actually attack you for trying to shoot them, and it's like, you are mentally retarded, aren't you? Like, I'm, I about hit you with my stolen car here, and I jump out with the submachine gun and start blasting at you, and now you're gonna run at me and tell me I'm an asshole or something like that. And it's like, you have gone full retarded. But it's a video game, so we don't think about it like that. We're not like, ooh, the video game's gone full retarded. We just kind of laugh at it and stuff. And that's kind of like what I think I was supposed to do with 2020, but it's not as funny to me as it's supposed to be, I guess. I mean, literally, like the dude who came up to me and talked to me about this stuff the first day. I talked to anyone about it. But he laughed. He thought it was funny and stuff. And it's like, do you understand like what has just begun? Because first of all, you caused it, and I assure you, at the end of the day, like if there's going to be a root solution, then you might just be part of that root solution because you're definitely the root cause of it. So technically, we could blame him for COVID. The people who work at these mental wards and inject people with drugs and stuff like that against their will. And then when the gray people start shit with you and you fucking pull out a pen and you're gonna fucking kill them if they fucking step close to you because what else you do as a scumbag? Like, how do you make the world a perfect place if you do not eliminate violent people? You can't. It's never going to happen. The world will never be perfect if violent people are not removed from the situation. And it's kind of like the same thing with everything else. Like, I don't know. A lot of times I look at the times I was violent, and it's like, wow, like that person tried to rob me. That was the first time I almost killed someone when I was like 4 or something, or at least stabbed him. Like I didn't almost kill him. I mean, that person never really stole after that though, so they learned. And fucking, you know, shit like that. All this crazy people stuff, but you really at the end of the day, does this make any sense? It makes way more sense than you putting on a mask when I say everyone should be forced to wear a mask. It makes way more sense. What I'm saying makes way more sense than everyone being force injected when I say everyone should be force injected. It makes way more sense than the rest of the stuff, which I'm not even going to talk about because it's a surprise what's going to happen next.